to a doctor's appointment, but they've been waiting. She just sent me a message.
And I can't give her a hard time about being retired and
about
no
your
schedule, no
Right.
responsibility.
She told me
No alarms.
yesterday that she had to take him, but she sent a couple of messages just saying that.
No, she had said that was one of the reasons, several top reasons why she retired was that her parents were needing more help, which is understandable.
So yeah, she's telling me she had to wait for a couple hours in the waiting room.
Wow.
I don't know where they are, but
Otherwise, we are all present and accounted for, I believe.
yes.
Hello, everyone. Is the camera ready to roll? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Then it is 4:15 p.m. on Wednesday, September 6, 2023, and I call this September meeting of the City of Merrill Park and Recreation Commission to order. Good to see everyone. Now as we are moving beyond summer into fall, in addition to our regular scheduled September meeting and the agenda items today, all of us who are able are invited to go along on a park tour with Dan Wendorf as our bus driver and tour guide. We have a little bit of an agenda here, but Dan just told me I'm the boss. I don't hear that often. But since he told me that, we're going to try to get through our agenda no later than 5 p.m. so we can be boarding the bus by 5 or shortly thereafter to start our tour, because I'm excited to go on a field trip and almost separate. Okay, with that, we'll move right into the first agenda item. Approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for July.
We have a motion and a
August,
second to accept the August meeting minutes. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item number 2, claims. So I think we have, is it 4 pages of claims. Any questions about the first page of the claims? Any questions on page 2 of the claims?
I've got a couple. Don Heil, is that what Lions Car Show, I take it?
That is the Lions Car Show, yes.
And then infield mix, does the high school pay anything for that, or
No,
they don't?
no. This infield mix, the next one you'll see another load of infield mix, but this was for the varsity and JV softball fields at the Mark. It's been several years since we put actual infield mix in, so there's a lot of low spots that keep gathering water and other things like that.
You know, I know the clubs, softball and hardball, what percent do they pay for mix, or?
This time we just picked it up at over the last few years. They've invested probably $5,000 to $7,000 in turf as the top dress stuff that goes over the mix.
Yeah, and I realize they
Yep.
turn that money over from their tournaments and such, and are generous in that way.
Yep.
High school doesn't pay anything.
Nope.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
If there are no questions on the second page of the claims,
Mr.
we'll
Chair.
move on to the third page.
I'll just add in the next one that you see down there, the 628769 parts for playground. That was the stuff that was damaged. This was before we had cameras on the new playground at Normal Park, and the Optimist Club paid for that. They just paid.
Did we recoup any money from the vandals?
Not for this,
No.
but there was since this, because this happened in 2022. The parts and other things that we ordered took over 11 months to get here, so we had that fixed. There was a couple of things in the meantime that were broken, and we did not. We caught a couple. The railing stuff at the gazebo, we caught them. Some of the bathroom stuff we've caught. Knock on wood, that's gotten fairly quiet after.
But do we recoup any money from any vandalism?
Yeah, some. There's a few open cases right now where it's going to either be pay your restitution or it will be taxed. So we do have that hammer to use.
Dan, which playground did you say the parks went to?
Normal.
Normal?
Yep.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anything else on page 2? We move on into page 3. And page 4. I guess just a couple lines on the fifth page. If there are no other questions about the claims, I would entertain a motion to approve the claims as submitted.
I'll make a motion to accept the claims as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims as submitted. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the claims as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Claims are approved. Is there any public comment? No public comment at this time. Agenda item number 4, review and approve the 2024 fees. Is there a page here? There is. There's a page in our packet on fees, current and proposed fees. So this is something we have discussed already at least once or twice at previous meetings. Anything you'd like to update or point out in particular that you think is worth emphasizing or that's changed since we discussed it in the past?
Yeah, just a few things. Some of these are just antiquated fees that we've charged for a long time that we just have not been able to, for a number of reasons, bring this forward. A lot of this is just not wanting to charge people more, I think. But it's time for us on a lot of these things to do it. So in your packets, the Little Dribblers program, it's a $5 bump on both regular and late fee. Open skate, we've been charging $4 for admission and $2 to rent skates for 25 years, I believe. So we're going to bump that up to $5. Would like to bump it up to $5, and then the skate rental to $4. And again, all of our costs have not gone down in that course of time. We're still very reasonable, and this is, none of these things are, in my opinion, outlandish. Flag football, $5 bump. Day pass for swimming from $4 to $5. Day pass for 62 plus and military from $2 to $3, $1 bump. Non-swimmer fee from $2 to $3. Our pool rentals, we were going to go up by 25 each category. And then the 101, the pool rental, the large pool rental is from $1 a person per hour to $2. And the group rates up $1 a person. And again, since 2016, the costs that we have to bear, and we are using taxpayer dollars, but our sanitizers, when I say sanitizers, I mean our pool sanitizers and our chemicals and our stabilizers and other things, they have gone up each and every year. What we pay our people has gone up. We've had to do that for a number of reasons, but these costs just reflect a small token of us trying to keep up with balancing our budget. None of this stuff gets us into the black, but it helps. It helps reflect that on our revenue, so each and every year we can at least close that gap. The summer playground, Dawn and I have had this discussion a number of times too, where last year was $50 and that included pool and bus. This coming summer we want to do $50 and have it exclude pool and bus. So we would charge an additional amount onto that, or we propose to. And then the rest is pretty easy. The only other one that had a little bit of a bump was ice rental, from $105 an hour to $125 an hour. We call that out-of-town users. What that is it's people that aren't figure skaters or Merrill Ice Reflections or Merrill Youth Hockey. So instead of paying $105 an hour, we propose they pay $125. And then the ice rental bump, it's been probably at least a dozen years since we've done this, but this is for Ice Reflections and for Youth Hockey. Propose it to go from $78 an hour to $85 an hour. We are still possibly the cheapest ice on the planet. I don't even know that I'm exaggerating on that. Green Heck down the road is $150 an hour. It doesn't matter who you are, what time you rent it or reserve it. There's others that are $250, $300 an hour. So it's still very, very reasonable. But again, our costs for Uncle WPS and everything in between, it doesn't go down. We just want to try and catch up a little bit and recoup some additional revenue again to help balance our budget. So none of this stuff is intended to make us rich or completely balance things out. It's just a necessary evil of what we do in the fee world. So, any questions, comments, concerns?
Okay. Is there, I don't see anywhere like for like school, there don't charge to schools for like ice time, ball fields.
School pays ice rental. We don't charge them for ball field usage.
For their marker athletic.
Correct, yeah.
Lines either for when they use.
Correct, and then they don't charge us if we want to use a gym or any of their facilities.
And how often do we use their facilities?
Little dribblers. We have that adult volleyball Wednesday night thing at the high school. And we do use their tennis courts yet for our adult tennis. So is it equal? No, it's not. I went to the school board probably 15-ish years ago and proposed some equitable charges and other things like that, and didn't go anywhere. So.
On birthday party packages, why is it 8, 9, and 10, and now 9, 10, and 12? What's the difference? What are the three levels?
Cost of pizza. So on the right-hand side, you'll see per person party for hot dog, ice cream, pizza parties. $9 hot dog, $10 ice cream.
So it goes by numbers then?
Well, yeah, pizza costs more than a hot dog per kid. It's just unit price.
Oh, those are optional. If you go with pizza, it's going to be probably 12 per person. I got you. So it's a breakdown on the food.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I guess I'm curious, what do you think the approximate additional cost would be for summer playground in addition to the 50?
Per week.
Isn't that around once a week at that?
Yeah. Per child per week, you're looking at, well, it would be if we go to the pool once a week and approve these fees, they would have a $5 day pass, and
It'd be $3 because they'd be over 50.
if we have over 50, but yeah. So you add that fee on there, and the bus, what is it, $2 for a ride?
We don't bus them out there because they're on after work that day. They start out after work.
But anytime, if we would have to use the bus, that would be added on too, so whatever that cost would be.
Okay.
Can we figure out the cost of summer playground, like if we're losing a lot of money on that, or do we know with the staff and everything we have?
Yeah, we could, I mean, it would just go staff hours versus what our revenue is. We don't lose a lot of money on that program, we really don't.
Okay.
I think playground revenue this year was somewhere in the 20,000 range-ish, I think. Our staff was probably, I'm just shooting from the hip here, somewhere in the mid-20s.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I guess going back to that, I was just just so like when we're, asking people to sign up, they would be aware of what the extra cost would be if they wanted the pool and bus. I assume we'd figure that out. But
Yeah, absolutely. That would be, it just keeps it outside of that.
yeah, it's an optional for them then,
Yeah.
And then I guess one other thing I was looking at was for the memorial bench, you have it as remove it because we have plenty of benches. I guess I was curious if maybe we could replace that with a different memorial option. And looking at the 5-year capital plan, I see you have, lights for the Mark trails and stuff. I know the Riverbend Trail lights were sponsored or memorial options for them, so maybe doing something similar with that project.
Yeah, we could.
Cameras or something.
Or yeah, cameras.
Yeah, it would be, things like that would be probably a multi-year, because there's a lot of people that want to give,
Yeah.
small amounts, but it would be a collection of people, unless there are some, the one thing about what we do is between flag football, little gritters, little dribblers, t-ball, etc. We are shaking the sponsor tree
Right.
a lot, so it would be something, we could promote something like that, but yeah, we can look at putting something together.
Yeah.
For things like that where you're looking at, 10, 20, $30,000, it would be a number of years worth of collecting donations at certain
Right.
amounts for people in memoriam of, and then,
Mhm.
trying to find a place to put a placard or a sign that said, these lights or whatever are brought to you by up and down.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with people just donating for tree memorials because we need more trees, obviously, but just to give some people options, I guess, for that.
Yeah.
Dan, is it true that if someone comes to you with a memorial in any amount, you're always grateful to take it and
Yeah,
give them
yeah.
options of what that money could be directed to?
Yep.
The
Yep.
bigger things take more money or more time to.
And
And we also, do we have something through the community foundation, a endowment fund? We started a park endowment
We
fund.
do, yes, we do. We have
Is
one
that
through the.
10 years, 15 years ago? It doesn't seem
Oh, yeah.
that long, but it probably is.
Yep, probably closer to 15.
Okay.
We have that through Community Foundation, and then we also have started our own endowment fund that we keep as a non-lapsing account here too. So.
Any other questions about the proposed changes to our fees? I guess I just had a comment or two. One, I agree with what you kind of led with, Dan, that as I look at even the fees, we're raising them too. I certainly feel like it's a bargain. I mean, but it's a city service we're also providing to the community as a city. Hopefully taxpayers realize it and look at it like that. Do you have this in your mind or on your calendar? How often do you revisit? We may be discussing last years. How often is that? Every other year, every 3 or 5 years, or?
Lately, we've been doing it almost every year. I know we've done it, this is, I think is the 3rd straight year, and then before that, it had been about every other year, something like that.
I don't know how the rest of the commission feels, but yeah, probably every year is not. Hopefully inflation is slowing down now, it seems to be, but
Yeah.
we better keep it every year, or be wise to keep it every year.
Yeah, and there are points of diminishing return on this, for instance, if we want to try and charge $10, $15 for a day pass to get into the aquatic center, that's not very inviting for the average person. Our attendance will go down and we will lose money. That's the argument that occasionally occurs at council level and other things like that too, where yes, we're not a private entity. We obviously can't operate like one. So, and people do know that through their taxes, they pay for our services, our facilities, our amenities and other things like that. So, the trick then is, to make sure though that they do understand that these user fees help offset those costs in the long run, because these are direct use things. These are things that they aren't direct services to every citizen in Merrill. They're not. So we need to try and recoup as much from a direct user fee as we can, so that whether it's retired people that don't take advantage of any of these amenities or not, they don't have to pay more for these types of things. That's the constant, not argument, but it's the constant discussion.
Balancing game.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad the non-resident resident is too hard to administer, because, the city people do pay taxes on the aquatic center and things like that. It would seem more fair that people that aren't paying those taxes maybe have to pay $1 more, or something more. But you had said that that's very difficult to administer.
We are money behind by the time Dawn and I get done playing forensic geographer or cartographer. But yes, no, I completely agree. We had this discussion for months when we decided to institute it, because we hadn't before. And then once we went to the online format, even before that, and then people that come in and people that register when we did have things, it's amazing the links that they would go to save $5.
Yeah, I never would have thought that.
Yeah. And then to send, to type up a letter to send them something saying you owe $5. By the time we're done trying to collect $5, we spent 30 or 50 in my time, Dawn's time, postage. So that's why even with we kind of, the one way that we did it for park shelters was we took the resident, non-resident rate, the resident rate, met in the middle. There's one rate. It costs a little bit extra.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dan?
I was just wondering, Dan, I haven't been on the website recently, but is a lot of this information on that website? Do we put what the events are, the events coming up? Is that all on there, the prices? Pool passes, is that all listed on there? I apologize for not looking.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, we don't keep, so there's certain top of mind things, it would get too busy if we put everything on there that we're doing year round. So if we don't have our website anymore, we use the city's and
Oh, okay.
no, but it's informative, and we've been working on it with our IT guy. So, for instance, when it was peak pool season and all throughout, you click the tab, Bierman Family Aquatic Center is open from this time to this time, closed on Mondays, it costs you this much for this, that, the
Okay.
different levels. Colorama bike rides coming up, click here for a registration form or to take you right to Civic Rec. Cost this is when it is. So yeah, we between that and
It's all there?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, good.
If there are no other questions for Dan, I would entertain a motion to approve the 2024 ski fee schedule as proposed.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 fee schedule and proposed changes.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 2024 fee schedule with proposed updates. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Fee schedule is approved. Next agenda item, which we have also discussed in previous meetings, is to review and approve the 2024 capital requests. We have a 5-year capital project with priorities listed. To be clear, we are just voting on the 2024 items listed for 2024. Looks like there's 8 of them, perhaps?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yep.
Okay, and I think those we have discussed previously, or did anything change in those 8, Dan?
There's one that was added in, and this is credit to Dawn because she brought up purchase tables / chairs for Smith Center and the Agri Pavilion. That's one of the areas where just through usage, you don't really pay attention to throwing away a couple of chairs here and there that got broken or are old. We haven't replenished or replaced any of our chairs in the Smith Center for a very long time. Some tables we've purchased here and there when we've had a little extra money, maybe towards the end of the year from Sam's Club, but between there and the heavy usage at Agri Pavilion, we go through them. So wanted to add that in as a potential. They buy a couple hundred chairs and 40, 50 tables, 60 tables, whatever it would take for us to help replenish our supply and have enough in both locations.
So would the thought be to have a permanent stock at Agri Pavilion?
We do have a permanent stock, but over the last 2 years, it's gone from enough to seat 115 or so down to 85 to start this season. Now we're down to about 60 that we can seat tables.
And do those come from Sam's Club? Like all of the chairs
Yeah,
and
we
tables,
would price those out and get them.
see where you-
Yeah, I mean, no matter what we do, people beat on things. It's public use. Some people take really good care. Other people, when they're done, they just flip them over and hit the trail. But, and then the other thing that Kathy had asked me to do too was, Kathy Merrill, our finance director, was to prioritize this. And this is just how I have it, but to prioritize it just in case City Council doesn't want to fund all 8. I think they're gonna fund all 8 this year. At least that's what it sounds like. I think they're gonna fund all 8. But so in case they don't, we'll go in order. At least this is how I would see it in level of importance. 1 would be Ott's boat ramp dock, and I know that there's the kayak ramp and the dock that's associated with that, but the first and foremost, that landing has to get redone too. So that has to get funded. Riverside, the dock at Riverside, number 2, Nicholas Bridge 3, just the amount of usage that has, and a safety issue. Number 4, Streeter Square basketball court, 5 tables, chairs, 6 Prairie Trails Bridge, 7 park entrance signs, and 8 finish the concrete surrounds around the shelter. That would be how I would see them from level of importance. If they did need to start hacking, they could do it from 8 and go backwards, but it won't happen.
I guess I just had a question. With the Odds Park dock, for that handicap kayak launch, we need a dock there to attach that to, correct?
Yep. So it is a dock and kayak launch kayak. So there's a dock that it's the same.
Right.
Yep. So
I just, if we don't get a new landing, we can't install that.
Yeah, or we could install the dock and then fix the landing up, when we get funding.
Okay. I guess I feel like it's a necessity at this
Yeah.
point.
Oh yeah, in my opinion, it's silly to not fund the launch portion itself, the boat ramp.
Yeah.
But I thought it's been silly for 5 or 6 years now.
Has it been a priority for
Yeah.
I know
Absolutely.
at least 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Since I've been on it.
Yep.
It costs more now too.
It's never been fulfilled.
Yep. Yeah, that's.
So your order, Dan, was Ott's, Riverside, and then 3 was the Nicholas Bridge?
Yep.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Nicholas.
Just starting with those 3 as what city council might approve.
So if we wouldn't get funding for the Nicholas Bridge, you would just keep replacing deck boards?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it gets pretty rough and
Yeah.
you could fall through it,
I do. Yeah, I do.
I guess I was going to ask if we've approached the Riverbend group about helping with that cost.
Not yet. I'm waiting. So I had to crawl underneath there twice now for some information for a company that does some prefab poly material that I think is perfect. Rod was with me on both occasions. I'm waiting for them to give us a final price for this, but I think this is one of those that has, 30 to 50 year shelf life. This is some high-end material that probably could have, would have, and should have been used.
In the first
Initially, it's
place,
not gonna
yeah.
be 5/4 deck boards,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I thought, part of the agreement was that they would help to maintain.
Yep, and this would be something that we could approach them with, even if it's just matching funds or.
Right.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean, they seem like they're very generous people for the community, and they may be willing to help.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
Any other questions about the 2024 capital project requests?
The county, ARPA funds, they asked where we can make improvements in camping and tourism. Have they been approached?
Has the county been approached?
Yeah, by
Yep,
us.
working with Renee still yet on a couple of requests. That was gonna be a topic of discussion for next month. I was gonna put on there too, to kind of narrow down what exactly you want to discuss. I know last time camping is still on here, but there was a myriad of other things that came forward too, like shelter at city forest, et cetera, et cetera. So
So
those
it's
are
ongoing.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Those are things, and I want to use you guys too for those, to firm those requests up, because as a commission, I think that's a good point of discussion, and requests should be finalized through you guys.
I think it's on their agenda for next week. I just want to make sure we do something so we don't lose out on
Right.
a potential
Right.
large amount of money.
Because Mr. Frisky came and talked how we could cooperate, and he approached us, at a meeting here. Mr. Harwig, I talked to him, he was willing to work with the city, get some, hopefully, county funding that might help. If we can't fill the whole thing.
It'd just be a shame to see Tomahawk get it, because it could be a substantial amount of money.
So with the project, I missed last month's meeting, something came up with work, so I got delayed, but it seems like we're moving it forward pretty smoothly. I mean, things take time with government, but is there some reason the county had the opinion the city wouldn't be able to spend that money? Or did they give a deadline we need?
Yeah, they're gonna give a deadline, and they're gonna look at all of the proposals, and then they're gonna choose one.
Do we know what that deadline is?
I don't think the deadline's been set yet. They're discussing it next
Okay,
week.
all right, so that's what, all
I
right.
don't think it's a deadline that's super far in the future, though.
Correct. Okay, yep, thank you.
But we as a park department need to submit something, correct?
Correct, for the budget.
Someone needs to submit something, yeah, to this county.
Yeah, I mean, I could fling requests out left and right if you want. I just
don't
was
think
trying
we
to
have a
organize our chain of thought, because, I mean, I work for you guys, so, we.
First step would be figuring out where it would be logical even.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then some potential sites I think are gonna be viewed. Here, when we leave at 5 o'clock in 10 minutes. 12 minutes.
But yeah,
So,
we should,
But that's good to know. And the other thing, I mean,
Move on now.
the city has 20 ready-to-go campsites at the festival grounds that haven't been used for a year or two since they've been ready. I thought it'd be great to put a shower house onto that bathroom down there and really have a nice facility. I mean, that's not park and rec, but I think you could spend a big chunk of that money.
That's not a bad idea.
Just
at
like that,
all.
by putting, I mean, they have the restrooms, new restrooms right there. That's pretty centrally located to the trail and not that far from downtown, but that's kind of beyond this, right here, this commission, but I don't think we'll have too difficult a time. Can't speak for that committee, that Festival Grounds Committee, or the acting interim co-city administrators, but I think they could spend that money pretty quick there if they wanted to, and we might sure have some campsites, maybe a little more on the primitive side that we could develop pretty quick.
Even the shelter at
Well,
the
we're
city,
getting ahead of
even the
ourselves.
shelter at the city forest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess that was a question I would have for them.
That
is if
bridge,
would count.
I know,
So-
now it sort of sounds like he's questioning whether the bridge is even gonna go in.
Seems like.
Just
once-
reading that email
Yeah.
between the lines, that, you know,
Yeah, that one's earmarked already though, so I think
that's
solid on that.
realistic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it seems like, to be clear, just at this group, anyone out there from the counties listening, you probably can come up with some really good uses of as much funds as they want to send our way pretty quickly, I think, but just need to do it in a.
Yeah, I just think we need to do it in a timely manner, or as quick as we can.
Yeah, but getting back to here, and I guess we'd have to approach the county, would a decking on the Riverbank Trail fit the criteria or not? But
Yeah.
we can certainly do that, so.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah. Other questions on
I think Rebecca had
the 2024 capital improvements?
No, my stuff was more about the ARPA money, but thank you.
Okay, and that may roll into our 7th agenda item. So if there are no more questions or discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve the 2024 capital improvement requests that we'll be putting forward to the common council.
I'll make a motion to pass forward the 8 items that Mr. Wendorf has for Park and Rec for the budget of 2024.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the proposed capital requests for the 2024 budget. Any discussion on that motion?
Is everybody okay with the priority?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Capital project requests are approved. Agenda item number 6, the 2024 operating budget. The last quite a number of years, our operating budget has been pretty cookie cutter. We get our guidance from finance director and tweak a few things, but it's pretty much been the same operating budget given our instructions from the city administration. Any highlights, Dan, or anything different than the last couple of years of note?
No, not really. The one thing you will notice on here, and we can approve this as it is, this excludes the aquatic center. Kathy didn't want to release that yet until we just finished up some of our last deposits and some of the other bills and things that we had, so it was a little difficult for her to forecast that one. So in October, that one will come back here, but it'll be, she wasn't ready to unleash that one yet just because we still had a number of things that we had to tie in. Just for Rebecca's information, I'll just kind of show her a little bit, see if you understand all of the numbers and the codes and other things from.
No.
Okay, so I'm just going to give you we'll go with the 10-cent tour quick. So the summary page is the easiest way. You'll see, she calls it department, but we have code, okay, the one that I just gave you today. So a department says 5,200 and then it's parks. Okay, so our budget is divided into a number of different categories. Parks, for some reason, the lights at Athletic and Odds are separate. Those are small money things. Now, since we took over Livingston Center, that's in there. Then Recreation is the 5,300, and then Mark Smith Center is 5,400, and then the Aquatic Center is 5,420. It'll be the one that you'll see. It's not in this. So those are the different subcategories that we have to work with for our overall total budget. The request that Kathy had on here was $666,741, budget change of $41,032 from last year to this year. A majority of that stuff is, we always say it's Kathy building it in, but it's whatever retirement, health insurance, any other step increases, cost of living, whatever city council agrees to or does not agree to has to be factored into here. So parks, for instance, that's everything that we do Physical maintenance wise, so lawn mowing and park shelter stuff, repairs, painting, improvements, ball fields and other things like that. Athletic lights and odds lights are obvious. Livingston building right now for us is just the cost of heating and cooling it, or heating
What
it.
is that?
That's the Legion building, American Legion building across from the library.
Okay.
And then recreation, obviously, is everything recreation related. All of our different sports programs, includes our other rec programs, including summer playground. Any of the special event things that we do, holiday type things, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter egg hunt, etc., comes out of recreation. And then Mark Smith Center is the physical Smith Center building itself. That's related to ice, that's related to arena reservations and rentals, Zamboni, community room, etc. And then the aquatic center is all the expenses that are related to the aquatic center. So, as you can see, our projection, so if you're looking at the summary page, it says 21 actual, 22 actual, 23 budget, 23 projected, 23 difference. Do me a favor and don't look at the 23 projected and the 23 difference. I have this conversation every year. It's impossible. Some of the stuff that we have here, we're almost all the way done spending. There's other things that we still have a little ways to go, but it's difficult. We're not water utility where you have even flow for the most part, or other things. So, long story short, I think our budget for the calendar year of 2023, we're going to be, I think, at or below what we had forecasted, which is a good thing. The aquatic center is going to help us with that, being that we finally had a closed system and weren't spewing not chemicals, but water and always heating and retreating everything all the time. So the other thing I want to point out too is, for our budget, when we are at, that 2% or less, like we have been the last couple of years, I don't think anybody here doesn't know this, but when you look at the cost of goods and services over the last 3 to 5 years, what have they gone up by? 10% on average, just about everywhere. It's difficult for us when we, and I know that we can't increase our budgets by 10%, but it does get difficult for us to do what we used to do and to do it now on a 2% increase, because everything else is here and we are gaining, this much at a time when everything else is going like that. So it does become a little bit difficult. We've held our own, and we will continue to hold our own. I do want to add in 2 things. It's been a while since I've done this, but they're fairly minor asks, and I think that by the time we're done being under in some of our other categories, that we will have room to add this in underneath the Mark Smith Center, which would be, let's see here, page. If you look on the top right of your draft budget pages, it's page 82. It is the last page. Public relations and marketing. Kathy had a requested change of 1,000, so taking 500 away. I would like to keep it at 1,500. So I would propose to add 500 back into that, so that we can continue to promote the things that we are. And then I would like to insert $1,000 into training, and it doesn't really make a difference where we put it in. Each one of our parks, recreation, and Smith Center has trainings, but most of our training stuff has kind of disappeared over the years, and I want to be able to make sure that we have some training if we want to send a staff member or two to our state conference, state WPRA, Wisconsin Park and Rec Association. But the way that it is aligned right now, we do not have enough funding to do that. So if everybody's okay, that would just be $1,000. We can insert that guess literally anywhere if we want to go at parks. It would be on page 72, which would be it's the third page in from your summary page, where it says education and conference. We have $250 in there. Add 1,000. I would like to propose that we add 1,000 into that.
For the marketing, is there any money left in that marketing fund that Charter gives us? That maybe you could try to get some of that? So that you had more money for the training?
That stuff is earmarked specially for marketing, the stuff from,
Okay.
yeah, the cable TV franchising. And that's the funding that's been used for the communications and marketing committee as well. There is some that we can roll into it. I know that the Enrichment Center is the only one that has tapped it so far. I don't know that that was its original intention, but being that they approved it, I think that we can now utilize that for some other publications that we want to promote.
So Dan, just on the right line on page 72 there, there's that education and conference line.
Yep, so if you
And
look,
so right now it's listed at 250 proposed. You want that to go to 1,000?
to 1250, add 1,000 to it.
Where's the conference at?
Green Bay.
That's state-wide.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we should go to that.
Yep.
And I'm assuming we would monitor that that's what's going on, and we would have a situation like, you know, there potentially was with the sheriff's department's trainings, where we're making sure they're actually going to them and the people that you send.
People aren't going to trainings? Or what?
Yeah, are we making sure that they're going to the trainings if we would send them for, you know, with city tax dollars?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing then.
Can report back to us.
Yeah.
What you learned.
Yeah, we have a little presentations.
We actually signed it to the classes I emailed to, which is really nice.
Yeah.
That's nice, yeah.
Okay. I know people are skipping out.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it.
Anything else on the budget?
No, does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Limits in building, is there any, what's the plans for that?
Right now, none.
Are you actually planning on putting money from the budget into that, or?
Yeah, we've got I know that we had discussions with MAPS to see if their building and construction class would have any interest in working on, you know, some renovation stuff, because a lot of what they do is new construction. So we'll probably have to revisit that. We did discuss that with Dale back in the winter time. But yes, that would be a good dream, is to try and find a way that we could partner with some local talent and make some upgrades. Part of it too is, you know, I think there isn't that much that would need to be done. Some of the ADA accessibility and restroom type things that need to get done, but we want to try and right now keep things so we can chew what we bite off with many things.
There is no long-range plan for that building.
Nope. The ultimate goal is at some point to have that be like another larger version of Agri Pavilion, something we can use it for 4 seasons of recreation programs. There's times that we don't have things, we can rent it out. Even if it's half as successful as the Agri Pavilion, that thing's booked solid for the next.
Historic committee have anything to say about it?
Yeah, well, no. They wanted a, no.
Okay.
That was a good answer. Concise. Any other questions about the budget? We then entertain a motion to approve the proposed budget with the additions we discussed, which were, I believe, staying at $1,500, was it, for promotions? adding $1,000 to bring the conference and education up to $1,250.
Yes.
Those are two changes. Is there a motion to put forward our budget request to council with those two changes and what is on paper here in front of us?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion to approve the budget. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve and put forward the 2024 operating budget. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you to Kathy, who's not here, for her efforts. And in advance, thank you to the council for quick approval.
Yeah, and eight things, 8 capital items.
Continuing, maybe we'll be actually taking action. It sounds like that's the direction we're moving by next month on some potential campground discussions and ideas to spend the proposed county funds or county ARPA funds. And again, I apologize for not being here last week, but Dan, if you could, where are we at now with this? Kind of, what are next steps? What type of timeline do you see us having with this moving forward to avail ourselves of these potential funds from the county?
So in your packet, I know that you had requested I reach out to Rick Bjorklund, who had done a bunch of homework for the existing campgrounds, spaces at the festival grounds. So the pages that you see where it says Merrill Campground projected budget and assumptions, the other one titled Merrill Festival Grounds Campsite Program, Action, Potential, Cost, Discussion, Recommendation. Those are all from Rick Bjorklund from the festival grounds. So these are the metrics that he came up with for the existing 20 sites or whatever it is at the festival grounds. In addition to that, there was the email that you see from Dean Bovee from Lincoln County. Somebody else had asked that, we looked into, I think it was Mr. Wykes, what the county's doing as far as their improvements. They are spending a fair amount of money, much needed at their locations, Otter Lake, Tug, Newwood. So there's the information that was requested. As far as where we are at from a park standpoint, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. I don't. We had the discussion. I think a lengthy discussion at our last meeting. Went through a number of different locations. Between Riverside and the one off of Matthews Jackson Street, Otts Park, I think, was one of those spots that had a little bit of traction, but we brought up some concerns as well with, the current amenities that we have. Is it enough to handle that? Along with increased traffic of pickleball, baseball, softball, park shelter reservations, boat launch. There are some of those things that tie in beautifully to camping, but there are also things that probably would bring additional costs into our department in the form of staffing, oversight, permitting, and other things like that. So, I'm not a campground expert. I really am not. I said this at the last meeting. If this is, I think it's a good idea to continue looking into it. I also, the idea that you brought up before I had not thought of is are we not looking careful enough at the festival grounds that has already invested funds in spaces? But maybe that is a time to look into that as well. I'm not trying to get things out of our parks, but trying to wisely come up with ways that we can consolidate efforts and make things as good as we can, or better than what we could by, I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to not oversaturate the campground market as well. If the festival grounds is doing it, we don't want to necessarily do the same thing. I guess I was looking at the festival grounds proposal, and the math didn't really add up to me, or didn't seem like it was correct necessarily, even because.
Maybe an early stage proposal.
Yeah, it wasn't very
Shocking.
thorough necessarily. So it's good information to start with, but we're going to need quite a bit more to figure out what the actual cost would be.
I believe in talking with Rick that this discussion is going to pop back up on the festival grounds agenda or agendas coming up here.
Okay.
And I think that he was going to utilize this information there as well. This is tailored towards what they have or what they want to do, but I think looking at what they have, this is probably going to be fairly similar to what we could do, given the space that we have, unless we would blow the doors off of something and do a full-on campground at City Forest.
Yeah.
Which would probably be the only place that we could do something that would really attract.
Yeah, I guess the City Forest was kind of maybe the best option, and I guess if it can be applied to not just the campground itself, but like Mr. White said, the shelter house that we're trying to get out there and something like that, it'd be worth at least putting a proposal together.
And it is right across the river from Prairie Dell's campground too,
Right.
so there's,
Yeah, I guess it feels like we're missing information still as far as like the numbers and cost actually would go, because this isn't really in depth enough to get a true cost estimate.
So one thing I got from that meeting last month was they just want us to start throwing numbers at them.
Yeah,
I mean, we gotta decide what, you know, if it's a shelter, not a campground, we gotta say, okay, we want $100,000 for to build a shelter, a bathroom, or it's just something we gotta decide where we wanna, we don't decide now, it's not a campground. I think we need to decide, you know, or on the decking, or this is things we think we need it for, and they're willing to.
Was the city given a dollar amount?
I don't,
No, there's an available amount for all of the county, was my understanding. and they're gonna
100,000.
Pick the best.
yeah.
I was told it was $100,000 is what they earmarked, allocated for everybody else combined. So that would be City of Merrill, Town of Corning, Rock Falls, all the, that was what I was told.
So it's really kind of a request for proposals, and then they will look through them. And
Right.
I just know they liked the campground idea, I mean, that was,
I don't know if it has to be a campground or if that was just their guideline, but
if I may, one thing, because I was intrigued, partly because of the timing of it. Chris and I had just gotten back from 10 days, primarily camping out west through the Black Hills and the Bighorn Mountains and back through Montana and northern Minnesota. So we've been at a lot of campgrounds. And so I was interested, and one thing that came to mind right away, I thought, well, and I even called them, like, aren't there campsites at the festival grounds? Didn't they do something there? And then took a bike ride down, and sure enough, there's 20 sites with electrical hookups and some picnic tables, and then found out that, yep, they're ready to go and have been for a year or two, but just not in use. And then I thought of right away, and then talked to Dan, and he confirmed that Riverside Park floods at least once or twice a year, and every 5 years, or it's pretty significant. I mean, hard to know, but pretty, I mean, not like high water there. But a couple thoughts I had, one I mentioned already, those festival ground sites look pretty nice. That's an underutilized city property, apart from the fair and Labor Day festivities and rodeo. Should the city market that, develop that? I mean, it's close, and go from there. And then I also did listen to on MP3 the video last time. I looked at the minutes. Alderman Sabaki talked about potentially getting some camping at fall ride time. Would we have a set like 10 camping area at ops, just that we would put in and out at that time, or maybe longer, would it be more primitive? And then I too really like the city forest area, building on the increased use for mountain bikes. And if we already have a pit toilet, and if we had a well there, even a hand pump well, we could pretty quickly put in some rustic tent. I mean, it wouldn't have to be super developed, but even could be dispersed a little bit, spread out along the property or that road down towards Manti Rock. We could pretty quickly put a proposal together for some. There were to be rustic campsites that just had a fire ring and a
Primitive, yeah.
and a primitive, room for a tent, or maybe a parking spot if you're sleeping in your van or your truck or whatever. Were just my thoughts that I had intended to share a month ago, and did now that I think there are some really good options there. But then I also think there is the board for the festival grounds, or the park board. There's a bigger question for the city council, perhaps. Does the city of Merrill want to get into the campground business? Because campgrounds don't run themselves. I mean, it's going to take someone to take care of it. Would there need to be a campground host like you see at different places where they have someone that comes in for a month or a season and gets their free site and gets paid and then needs a site with sewer and water hookup or not? But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I mean, you can get started like at the city forest. We could get a primitive campground in there. About all I think is missing is a well. It would make it really nice. I mean, people can haul water, but if we get a hand pump well there, not to create more work for you and your crew, Dan, but is that true that you can buy picnic tables or build them and get fire rings in and
Yeah,
some sites? You could put that proposal together and.
If it's primitive, which would be an amenity, I mean, that, like we had talked last time, from a departmental standpoint, it would be difficult because we would have to find somebody, again, that checks you in, checks you out. If there's issues, at midnight on Saturday, the power isn't working, who gets called, who goes in, who fixes what. There's just ongoing perpetual costs, but,
Which would require a potential seasonal position that we cannot approve. We request, but the council in the end would have to.
We'd have to add it into our budget, yeah, somewhere along the line, but then, if you find the right person that would want to be seasonal and a jack of all trades and administer it, that would be an interesting, it'd be nice if there was a person like that out there, but versus primitive, where you first come, first serve, it's another amenity that could get people to stay there. You put a road base pad there, and you put a little number on it. If you get, there's 4 spots near the entry, there's 4 spots down by Manti Rock, and if they're full, they're full. If not, come on in. I mean, those are fairly easy. The only thing that we'd have to do is it's just probably a little bit of additional run up there and make sure that the garbage is taken care of. It would add more garbage, but those are marginal costs compared to.
So would you, by the October meeting, as strange as that sounds, you could potentially have some proposals put together for us? Is that?
Yeah, come up with a
Does that
list
seem
of.
like
Yeah,
some
I like your
dollar-
city forest idea too,
some dollar amounts, and that would also give time to talk to the city administrators, interim city administrators, and festival grounds to see if they have, what are their plans for the festival ground sites. And because I like how Kyle put it, we don't necessarily need to be competing against each other or duplicating facilities that are already there. That's probably not a wise use of anyone's money, whether it's ARPA or county or city or whatever. But I think we can also do it better, do it well if we think about it. So,
Who owns that Matthews Street property that you mentioned?
The what? City.
The city owns that?
There's 17 acres.
17?
Not all of it's usable. Devil's Creek, it bottoms out into Devil's Creek as you go south, but there's probably at least 7, 8 acres up top that are fantastic, all with the riverfront. It's all along the river.
Could be a great access point for that part of the river too.
get people to drive all the way through town to get there. That'd be great.
Yep. Yeah, there is.
Stop at
The council
businesses.
grounds all the time, so it's
Yeah.
not like people aren't gonna do it, or people like
Correct.
Roy, they're not gonna go that far, they.
Right.
Well, I see where you're going. They might spend money at gas stations, restaurants, which is the whole goal.
Instead of having it right off of the freeway.
Yeah.
Just make them come into our beautiful city.
See a great house for sale, decide to buy it, move on.
Right, exactly.
So any other questions for Dan on this, or?
No, I just did, if you are looking like, you know, your national parks are a lot of perimeter.
Hmm.
You know, they don't, I think you see the warden maybe go through there once a weekend.
Yeah.
But I
And-
mean, so that would give you an idea how to, I mean, how they do it. I mean, you just buy, you get an envelope, you pay your money, and some take reservations, but if you're doing first come, first serve, that's one more, less thing you don't have to do.
Yeah, we could have a, take out, take in, take out what you brought in policy too, like a lot of other nature conservatives do.
Yeah, leave no trace, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I guess I would just add into, if we're doing a city forest proposal, that we should have maybe option A that includes the shelter, the well, and, everything that we're looking to do there. And option B would just be the campsites, maybe, I guess.
Is there any access on that west side of the Prairie River for kayak or canoe? It's steep, I know, on the Dell side. It's so narrow and rocky.
Of the
in there.
prairie, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, by the city forest?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few spots where it flattens out, but it's so far back, from the entrance.
Yeah.
There's some good spots. It's just, from our side, it's difficult to
Yeah.
access it.
Lunch, anything.
Some of it's pretty shallow too. My aunt lives on there, and where she is, it's very shallow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That this summer.
Yeah, this year's for sure.
But some of those areas, if you go past, like over the dike, past the Matthew Rock, and then you angle yourself just a little bit east-northeast, there's a few spots and where the river does run through, where it's not very steep at all, but it's a long ways back.
Yeah. So there really isn't any place they could drop a canoe or a kayak on either side.
We don't have the best access for that. You'd have to get up by where one of the bridge crossings are, or, like some people are putting in at different spots to go through. Or at the Prairie Dells itself, the county side. And when we get that bridge there, that might be an opportunity. There are a few spots on their side where we could consider putting in we would put in a on-out or in-out just before you do.
I would think you'd almost have to be past where the old dam went across. It's so narrow in there and
Yeah.
big rocks.
When we were bushwhacking in there back in end of May, the one site where, well, actually, the first site that we liked with the rock outcroppings, as you work your way upstream a little bit, there's areas where, with doing a little shorescape, it's probably the height of this table down, so you can sculpt that.
Yeah.
Neat Tonka toys.
Okay. Anything else for discussion on potential camping location? I guess that's sort of expanded into and other recreational uses for the funds the county has so graciously potentially made available. So thank you, Dan.
I will start a list, and if anybody else has thoughts, just email me. If you have, so that, like I said, I want to make sure that
Certainly list all the activities or events that you've had out there so far and potentially could keep going.
Yeah, what I mean is if there's other ideas, whether it's
Yeah.
camping in town, out of town, if you think of something else that you want me to throw on the list, we can.
Is that handicapped, elderly thing over that, she talked about the 4 locations, is that a for sure, or do we have to apply for that? the canoe and
Okay.
kayak launching for elderly and handicapped, was that a for sure? I mean, is that already done? Are the monies there, or is that something we need to apply for?
So they had their bids already, and it sounds like with the cost of them, they were hoping to do 4. It looks like 2. So it looks like Sarah Park and Otts Park are going to be the 2 spots that get it, just because of their accessibility and their popularity.
So that's for sure, we don't have to apply. We
Correct.
don't have to do anything.
Correct.
Okay.
So you're saying it's not part of this $100,000 money that's up for bid, it's a
Okay.
proposal. Thank you. Anything else for Dan on this topic? Otherwise, we will get that up near the top of our list for agenda items for next month. All right, then, agenda item number 8, monthly reports. If you make it quick, Dan, so we can be out of here by 5, that would be great.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions?
I was just curious on the aquatic center during the fair. Is that real busy out there?
When it's hot, yeah. We'll
You'll still get people to
Yep,
come out
there's enough people in our community to do both, or
to remain open?
or to do at the same time. There are times where if it's an average day, a 75er, we'll have more people go to the fair. But we did have a few of those days where we had some middle upper 80s where we had a good turnout.
Okay.
Had some good,
So we were
good
making
numbers.
money regardless?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And there's a lot of people that come to the pool and until 3, 4 o'clock, and then jump out and go to the fair, or
Okay.
the other way around.
Or they bought their tickets, so,
Yep.
okay.
Or they gotta have some curds. Hopefully they get the curds after the pool. Or something. Yeah. Any other question?
Questions for Dan? Anything you'd like to highlight? Dan?
Just
It
quick,
all looks
I-
fun.
Yeah, it
It's a good
is.
summer.
Just want to thank, I know I put it in the notes, or the note portion of it, but I do always have to thank our staff. We do have, when it's summertime, it's amazing the amount of ground that our department covers, and the amount of people that we come across and serve and help out throughout the course of a day, a week, a weekend, for the season. But we can't do that without having fantastic staff members, and so I have to thank all of them. It is truly a team effort. We're thankful to have amazing people like Dawn sitting over there, does a fantastic job, and everything she does, we wouldn't be able to make most of these things work without her amazing talent, dedication, hard work. Same with our buildings and grounds people, all of our pool people, lifeguards, admissions, concessions, seasonals, recreation people, summer playground people. Tip of the cap to them for going through what they did and still coming out with a smile on the back end. It's a team effort, and I cannot thank them all enough. And for everybody here and those watching and listening, if you do see any of them, please thank them, because we are pretty fortunate here in the city of Parks to have a small but extremely effective department, and we cover a lot of ground. So thanks to everybody. Huge thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Agenda item number 9, set a date and time for the next meeting. I just put this out there, is not, normally we meet the first Wednesday of every month. I will be out of town the first week of October. So I believe Wednesday, October 4th will be our normal meeting. You can all go ahead and meet, assuming Chad is willing to take the comm and run the meeting. Otherwise, I would be back October 11th, but I'm not implying that I need to be here. But
Either works.
Should we do the 11th then? Or-
Wednesday. I'm guessing the county's gonna wanna
Oh,
start hearing some stuff. So I would
That's a
be
good
before
point.
the county.
Yeah.
Would you be before it then, or? that, so I don't know when they meet.
Well, this month they meet next week, so I would think so.
If you want to check that, you can email people then.
Sure.
On the county meeting.
Okay.
I don't have to be here, but it's putting it. So either the 4th or the 11th based on.
So does that go through the Land and Forestry Department, or who administers that county stuff?
Is there a tactful way you could like find that out for sure? Like, or how, yeah, how.
I'll ask her.
You can.
You got some sources you can talk to?
Yeah.
Yeah, just find out what,
Okay.
you can
Yeah, 'cause-
explain the situation and.
And then I'll email everybody then to see if it doesn't make a difference, then we can decide if we want to go wait for Dr. Dan. Or if it's something that is a little time sensitive, then we can bump it to the 4th, if that's okay. Sounds good.
Is there any public comment? Still no public comment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to
Motion
adjourn.
is second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.